I dropped dead at the awards ceremony because my husband, a renowned scholar, told the national camera that the person he was most grateful to was his soulmate. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in 1975, the day he proposed to me with the recommendation letter for the worker-peasant-soldier college in hand. In my past life, I paved his path to success with my youth and future, only to be met with the words, "We have nothing in common." In this life, I looked at his seemingly devoted face and tore the marriage contract to pieces. Jia Yuqing, your path to greatness is yours to walk alone. I will walk my own narrow bridge. I am dead. She died in the spring when her husband Jia Yuqing's fame spread across the world. Professor Jia, with all the remarkable achievements you've made in your lifetime, who would you say you're most grateful to? Under the spotlight stood the man I had served for 30 years, his silver hair combed in the classic scholarly style, and behind his gold-rimmed glasses, his eyes deliberately exuded affection. He spoke into the microphone, his voice echoing through the speakers across the venue. The person I wish to thank the most is my soulmate, Ms. Lin Weiqing. A wave of warm applause rose from the audience. The journalists quickly took notes. 30 years ago, during my toughest days as a sent-down youth, she was the one who encouraged me to keep studying. Over the years, she has been the first to read every important paper I've written. I sat in the front row of the family section, my heart clenched as if by an icy hand. My son Jiaxia quietly nudged my arm from the other side and whispered, "Mom, fix your expression, the camera's coming this way." My daughter Jia Ting simply turned her face away, pretending not to know me. The speech on stage continues. Pity, some bonds are destined to remain as kindred spirits. Yet I've always believed that a meeting of souls is far more precious than a marriage of form. The entire venue erupted in applause once again. This time, it was even more fervent. A young journalist stood up and pressed further. "Professor Jia, what about your wife? I heard she gave up her chance to return to the city for you and stayed in the countryside with your mother for 10 years. Jia Yuqing smiled, that familiar smile of his, tinged with a faint condescension. "My wife is a traditional woman. She has sacrificed a lot for the family, and I am grateful, but we must admit that some sacrifices are merely repetitive labor, lacking creative value. It's like cooking a meal, you do it today, and you have to do it again tomorrow. But a single paper can influence an entire discipline for decades." I'm shivering all over. So those 30 years of washing clothes, cooking meals, taking care of his parents, raising our children, and even staying up all night copying his drafts while he wrote his thesis. In his eyes, it was just repetitive work. As the press conference moved into the Q&A session, I stood up and slowly made my way out. My steps were unsteady, as if walking on cotton. On the TV screen in the hallway, the scene from moments ago was playing again. Lin Weiqing had somehow been invited onto the stage. The woman in her 50s, well-preserved enough to pass for her early 40s, nestled close to Jia Yuqing. They stood side by side receiving congratulations, like a perfect couple. "Mom." Jia Ting chased after her, her tone impatient. "What are you trying to stir up now? Dad has such an important occasion today, can't you just hold it in for once?" I looked at her. This daughter I carried for 10 months and scrimped and saved to send abroad for her studies. So you think I should just put up with it too? What else? Jia Ting frowned. "Aunt Lin has really helped Dad a lot. She's an associate professor at the university. She can talk academics with him. What about you? Besides asking Dad what he wants to eat today, what else can you talk about?" I opened my mouth, but not a single word came out. A sharp pain shot through my heart. "Mom, you look so pale." Jiaxia also came out. "Is your heart bothering you? Did you bring your medicine?" I fumbled with my handbag but just couldn't get the zipper open. My vision is starting to blur. The last image I saw was Jia Ting speaking into her phone. "Dad, Mom might be having a heart attack." "Yeah, it's okay, you go ahead with the book signing. My brother and I will take her to the hospital." Then came the boundless darkness too. When I opened my eyes again, the familiar smell of disinfectant mixed with mold filled my nostrils. I blinked several times before I could make out what was above me, not the sterile white ceiling of a hospital, but a mud brick roof plastered with old newspapers, with a dim yellow bulb dangling from a single wire. A woman's voice came from beside me. "Shin Yulan, you're awake, hurry up and get ready. We've got to head out for work this morning." I sat up with a jolt. A cramped room with for wooden beds, a slogan on the wall reading, "A vast world offers great opportunities." On the bed by the window, a girl with braids was combing her hair in front of a small mirror. "Is that Zhou Xiaomei? Didn't she die of breast cancer in 1998? My trembling hand reached up to touch my face. The skin was firm, without a single wrinkle. I then looked at the small round mirror on the worn wooden table across from me. And it was a face in its early 20s, haggard yet young. 1975. I was back at 21, in my third year of the sent-down program in northern Shaanxi. There are 3 months left until my wedding with Jia Yuqing. What are you zoning out for? Zhou Xiaomei turned around. Jia Yuqing came looking for you first thing in the morning. He's waiting outside the courtyard gate. He said he has something important to discuss with you today. Important matters. I remember now. On June 12, 1975. Jia Yuqing formally proposed to me for the first time. No, to be precise, they informed me of my marriage. He said, Yulan, my family pulled some strings and got a recommendation spot for a worker peasant soldier university, but being married would make it more secure. Let's get the marriage certificate first. Once I'm in university, I'll find a way to get you back to the city. At 21, I blushed and nodded, feeling that this was a monumental promise. Little did he know that the recommendation slot was originally his. The marriage was just a way to tie me down, to trap a fool who willingly stayed in the countryside to take care of his sick mother, giving up her own chance to return to the city. Magnolia. Zhou Xiaomei looked at me strangely. Are you crying? I wiped my face. My hands were wet. I wasn't crying. I was full of hate. It was the hatred of being trampled underfoot for 30 years, and in the end, even her tombstone had to be engraved with Mrs. Jia Yuqing. It's all right. I tossed aside the patched thin quilt, got out of bed, and put on my shoes. I'll go see him right now. In the courtyard, the morning mist had not yet fully dissipated. Jia Yuqing stood under the old locust tree, dressed in a faded blue work uniform, her posture tall and straight. You have to admit, he really had a striking appearance when he was young, sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, with an intellectual air tinged by the characteristic aloofness of the educated youth. In my past life, I was deceived for a lifetime by this attractive appearance and that hint of an intellectual aura. Yulan. He spotted me, a gentle smile spreading across his face as he pulled out an oil paper package from his coat. I brought you a piece of date cake, bought it in the county town. In the past, I would have been so moved that my nose tingled. Now I only see the calculation in his eyes. Just say what you need to say. I didn't take the oil paper package. Jia Yuqing was taken aback for a moment, then broke into a smile. You really do know me. Well, here's the thing. I got a letter from home saying there's an opportunity to go to university, but I need to be married. I was thinking, we've been together for 2 years now, so why not just get the certificate first? Exactly the same as in the previous life, word for word. Which university? I asked. It might be the workers, peasants, and soldiers' university in the province, but nothing's set in stone yet, he said vaguely. But this is a good chance to get back to the city. Yulan, once I've got my feet on the ground, I'll definitely come back for you. How am I supposed to take it? I stared into his eyes. If we get married, my household registration will be transferred to your production team. You'll go off to college, and I'll stay here to take care of your sick mother. Then, after 4 years, when you graduate and get a job assignment, we'll figure out how to gradually work things out. Jia Yuqing's expression shifted. You, how can you say that? Do you really think I'm that kind of person? You are. 2 words, spoken calmly and firmly. He was completely frozen. The morning mist drifted slowly between us, while in the distance, the bell calling the work team to the fields rang out. Jia Yuqing. I stepped forward, closing the distance until I could see my own reflection in his pupils. That recommendation spot. Your dad bought it for you with 2 cartons of Dakianman cigarettes, didn't he? Marriage isn't a necessity. Your mom wanted a free maid, and you wanted a stepping stone. What nonsense are you talking about? His voice suddenly rose, then quickly dropped. Yulan. Did someone say something to you? Don't listen to anyone trying to stir things up. I truly want to be with you. Really? I smiled, laughing until tears came to my eyes. Jia Yuqing, remember this day. Remember every word I, Xin Yulan, am saying. I'm not getting married. That spot to return to the city. I'm going to fight for it myself. As for you, I stepped back 2 paces, looking at you like I was sizing up a piece of trash. Marry whoever you want, just stop trying to get with me. With that, I turned and left. Xin Yulan, he shouted from behind, don't you regret this? If you let me go, what kind of decent man do you think you'll find in this godforsaken place? Didn't your mother say in her letter that the most important thing in a woman's life is to marry the right man? I didn't stop walking. The wind swept across the fields, carrying the scent of earth and grass. Yeah, my mom said that in her past life. She spent her whole life saying, Yulan, a woman must treat her Man is her everything, Yulan, just endure it and it'll pass, Yulan, for the sake of the children. I've endured it for 30 years. I endured until my husband thanked his mistress in front of the whole world, endured until my children were ashamed of me in this life. Screw man as the sky, I will become that sky myself. 3. Back in the female educated youth dormitory, Zhou Xiaomei leaned in and asked, so, did Jia Yuqing propose to you? Without a word, I pulled out the small, paint-chipped wooden box from under the bed. I opened it. On top were a few patched-up clothes. Beneath them lay a stack of letters, all from my mother, each one urging me to hold on tight to Jia Yuqing, that educated man. I took out the letters and tore them up, one by one. Are you crazy? Zhou Xiaomei exclaimed. That's not your mother. From today on, I threw the fragments into the stove, watching the flames lick up. I won't listen to a single word she says. There were 2 more items at the bottom of the trunk. One was a high school textbook brought along when I was sent to the countryside in 1972, its corners already worn and frayed. The other one was a diary I had secretly kept for 2 years. No, not a diary, but a ledger. It records the grain coupons, cloth coupons, and money that Jia Yuqing has borrowed from me over the past 2 years. It even includes a detailed account of the money I earned by staying up late knitting sweaters and selling them to send to him when his mother was ill. Total, 47 5G of grain coupons, 8G of cloth coupons, and 63 2 yuan in cash in 1975. This was the total savings of an ordinary educated youth over 2 years. I ran my fingers over the rough cover of the ledger and smiled. Fortunately, in this life, my devotion to him ends here. For Zhou Xiaomei looked at me as if I were insane. Shen Yulan, you're really not going to be with Jia Yuqing. He's the most promising educated youth in our brigade, and his father he's just a minor clerk from the County Education Bureau. I cut in. So what? Zhou Xiaomei was left speechless. I closed the wooden chest, took out the account books and textbooks separately, wrapped them in an old cloth, and tucked them under my pillow. Xiaomei, I turned to face her. Let me ask you, if you could easily score 60 on your own, but instead you beg on your knees for someone to give you 59, aren't you just pathetic? Her face flushed red. How can that be the same? For a woman, marriage is like being reborn, and what if this time I'm reincarnated into a pigsty? I laughed, a dry, hollow sound, spending a lifetime wallowing in the mud, only to end up butchered for meat. The work whistle outside sounded again, urgent and sharp. Hurry up, we'll get docked points for being late. Zhou Xiaomei tugged at me. I pulled my hand away from hers. I'm taking the day off. Are you crazy? If you take leave, you'll lose this month's perfect attendance bonus. Then forget it. I lay back down on the bed and pulled a thin blanket over my face. In the darkness, scenes from my past life flickered like an old movie reel. In 1980, Jia Yuqing graduated from university and was assigned to the county high school. I was still in the countryside, carrying our feverish daughter on a 10-mile night walk to the clinic. In 1985, he was promoted to lecturer and brought female students home for extra tutoring. I was in the kitchen chopping dumpling filling, the cleaver sinking 3 centimeters into the cutting board. In 1995, his affair with Lin Weiqing could no longer be hidden. I said I wanted a divorce. He replied, Shen Yulan, what would you live on without me? A housewife with only a middle school education, what can you do? In 2005, he became a renowned scholar and said in an interview, my wife is a kind person, but we don't have much in common. Until the day I die. The blanket was yanked open. Zhou Xiaomei stood by the bed, panting heavily. Jia Yuqing's mother is here. She's making a scene at the courtyard gate. 5. The sun in northern Shaanxi is already scorching. In June, a crowd had gathered at the courtyard entrance, mostly local aunties and elderly women from the village, holding their bowls as they ate breakfast while watching the commotion. In the middle of the crowd, a gaunt woman in her 50s sat on the ground, slapping her thighs. It was none other than Wan Xiuying, Jia Yuqing's mother. Ungrateful, my son was so good to you, he fed you and clothed you, and now that you found a better prospect, you want to dump our Yuqing. I stood at the doorstep, watching her act coldly. It was the same in my past life. 3 months before the wedding, she came to make a scene 3 times, once accusing me of seducing her son, once saying I stole grain from her house, and the last time she just lay on the ground and claimed I pushed her. Every time she caused a scene, Jia Yuqing would come to me helplessly and say, Yulan, look, my mom is so old, just give in a bit. If we get married sooner, she'll stop. I have bowed my head for 30 years, bent so low that the spine curved, never to straighten again. Aunt Wang, I said, pulling out the account book, you claim Jia Yuqing provided for my food and clothing, but the grain ration book is in your hands, and I pay 15 jin of grain coupons and 8 yuan for meals every month. The brigade accountant has it all on record. You say I married up, my parents are both working, and my brother is in the military. Jia Yuqing's father was just a minor clerk who got a permanent position later, and you don't even have a job, so who married up? The crowd buzzed. Wang Shuiying clearly hadn't expected me to talk back. She froze for a moment, then wailed even louder, "You're lying. My Yuqing is an educated person, he's going to college and become a cadre in the future, and you, just a sent-down youth. Do you think you're good enough for him?" "I'm not good enough," I nodded, "so I don't deserve it. You'd better find someone who does." With that, I turned around and headed back inside. "Stop right there." Wang Shuiying scrambled to her feet and rushed over, grabbing my arm. "You're not leaving until you explain yourself. You've wasted 2 years of my son's youth. How are you going to make up for that?" Her nails dug into my flesh, stinging with pain. In my past life, I was afraid of her, afraid of my future mother-in-law, and afraid of ruining my reputation. Now I looked down at her hand, veins bulging, and suddenly smiled. Then, straining his throat, he shouted with all the strength he possessed, "Help, someone's attacking. The future mother-in-law is beating her daughter-in-law to death." A sharp voice cut through the morning stillness of the entire educated youth settlement. Wang Shuiying was so frightened that she let go. I took the chance to step back 2 paces and rolled up my sleeve, for bloody scratches were clearly visible on my forearm. "All you aunties and grannies saw that." I raised my arm and turned around. "I haven't even married into the family yet. And my mother-in-law is already beating me within an inch of my life. If I do marry, will I even survive?" Rural women know all about the ins and outs of mother-in-law and daughter-in-law dynamics. Immediately, murmurs broke out. "Ouch, that's way too harsh. If she's like this before marriage, what will she be like after? If the girl's parents find out?" Wang Shuiying's face turned ashen. You're slandering me. I just gave you a gentle tug that draws blood." I rolled down my sleeve. "Aunt Wang, isn't the real reason you came today to pressure me into marriage? Let me make this crystal clear." I stared into her eyes, enunciating every word. "Even if every man on earth were dead, I, Shin Yulan, would never set foot in your Jia family." 6. Wang Shuiying was persuaded to leave by a few aunties who couldn't stand to watch any longer. He was still grumbling as he left, but his bluster had already faded. The crowd dispersed, and the educated youth settlement returned to calm. Zhou Xiaomei brought me a basin of cold water, soaked a towel in it, and handed it to me. "Wipe yourself down, your arm is bleeding through." I didn't take the towel. Instead, I cupped water from the basin and splashed it on my face. The icy water stung my cheeks, but my mind was razor sharp. "Xiaomei, do me a favor." I flicked the water droplets off my hands. "Go to the brigade headquarters and request a 3-day sick leave for me." 3 days, the team leader will never approve. Just say I was beaten up by my future mother-in-law and need to go to the health center for a medical examination. I paused. "And while I'm at it, ask about this year's quota for returning to the city." Zhou Xiaomei's eyes widened. "You're really going to fight for it?" "What else?" I looked at the endless slopes in the distance. "Stay here, wait for Jia Yuqing to get into college, wait for his mother to come making trouble every other day, wait for me to turn into a worn-out housewife, and then wait for him to kick me to the curb once he's made it." She fell silent. After a long pause, she said in a low voice, "But Yulan, our brigade only has 1 spot this year. Jia Yuqing's family has already greased the wheels. You won't be able to compete. Even if I can't win, I have to fight." I walked into the room, pulled the cloth bundle from under the pillow, and took out the textbook. At the very least, I need to make sure everyone knows I'm not someone they can push around. After Zhou Xiaomei left, I opened my high school Chinese textbook. The paper has yellowed, and the handwriting is blurred. In 1972, when I was sent to the countryside, I packed these books into my luggage in tears. Mother said, "Why are you bringing all this? Go down there, work hard, and try to get married and come back to the city as soon as possible." Married and moved back to the city. This was the only path that so many female educated youths of that era could see. But why should it be so? I traced my fingers over the page of record of Yayang Tower and whispered, "To worry before the world's worries, to rejoice after the world's joys." As I kept reciting, tears began to fall. It's not sadness, it's hatred. I hate myself for being so foolish in my past life, believing the absurd notion that a woman without talent is virtuous. She bought into the lie that marrying a good man is the ultimate success. Sister Yulan, A timid voice came from outside the door. I wiped my tears and saw a thin little figure. It was Li Xiaoqiao from the next room. Just turned 17 this year and had been here half a year less than us. Can I help you? Li Xiaoqiao clutched the hem of her clothes, hesitating for a long time before finally saying, I overheard what you said to Sister Xiaomei. I want to study too. Can I join you? I was stunned. I know Li Xiaoqiao's fate from her past life. In 1976, she married the village party secretary's simpleton son for a chance to return to the city. She died in 1978 from a massive hemorrhage during childbirth. Does your family agree? I asked. Her eyes reddened. My dad said in his letter that I should find a good man in the countryside, but I don't want to end up like my sister, getting beaten every day after marriage. Looking at her frail shoulders, I was reminded of the invisible beatings I endured in the Jia family in my past life. Come here. I shifted over. Sit here. I only have one set of textbooks, so we'll take turns using them. 7 in the afternoon, Zhou Xiaomei returned. I come bearing 2 pieces of news. First, my leave was approved. When the team leader heard that the in-laws were beating people, he frowned and granted 3 days off, muttering, the Jia family has gone too far. Second, the quota for returning to the city. I overheard the brigade accountant talking to the secretary. Zhou Xiaomei lowered her voice. The county is giving our commune 4 spots this year, and our brigade can get 1. But Jia Yuqing's father has already greased the wheels. It's basically a done deal. Basically a done deal means it's not completely settled yet, I said. But how can we compete with him? Zhou Xiaomei said anxiously. Jia Yuqing is a high school graduate, has an excellent work record, and can even write articles. I'm a high school graduate too. I opened my textbook. As for work record, I've never taken a day off in 3 years, and last year I was even named a labor activist. As for writing articles, I paused for a moment. At least half of Jia Yuqing's early educated youth literature in his previous life were revised by me. He always said, Yulan, your writing has a spark to it, but it's useless for a woman to bother with this stuff. Just help me polish mine. Once I make a name for myself, I'll split the credit with you. Credit in the end. He couldn't even be bothered to mention my name. Xiaomei, find me some paper and a pen, I said. What do you want? Writing the materials. I looked out the window at the blazing sun. If we're going to compete, we'll do it fair and square. That evening, I leaned over the con table and wrote 3 documents by the light of a kerosene lamp. One was a petition for fair assessment of urban return quotas, which listed my work hours over the past 3 years, awards received, and my initiative in organizing literacy classes for sent-down youth. One is a report on Comrade Jia Yuqing's family background and the source of his recommendation quota. I didn't directly report him, just objectively reflected on his father's activities. The third one was a letter home to my parents in my past life. I never wrote that letter, because Jia Yuqing said, don't worry the family, I can handle it. This time, I wrote stroke by stroke. Dear parents, I am doing well in northern Shaanxi. However, regarding marriage, after careful consideration, I have decided to end my romantic relationship with Comrade Jia Yuqing. There are 3 reasons. First, our values do not align. Second, his mother's conduct is improper. Third, I do not wish to rely on others to return to the city. I stopped writing here. The flame of the kerosene lamp flickered, casting light on the still wet ink on the letter paper. Finally, let me add one more thing. I am well aware of your hopes for me, but life is long, and I wish to walk my own path for a while. If I cannot bring glory to the family name, at least I will not bring shame upon the Shen family. Signed, your unfilial daughter, Yulan, on the night of June 13, 1975. By the time I finished writing, my fingers had blistered from the friction of the pen. Li Xiaoqiao had already fallen asleep, face down on the desk, with the textbook open to the page of preface to the Pavilion of Prince Teng. Though old, one should be even more vigorous. How could one waver in resolve when white-haired? Though poor, one should be even more steadfast. Never abandon the lofty ambition that soars above the clouds. I gently closed the book. Outside the window, the moon had risen, cold and clear, casting its light over the countless ravines and gullies of the Lus Plateau. In my past life, I gazed at such a moon my entire life, from youth to gray hair, from hope to despair. In this life, I will get out of these mountains. Rely on yourself. 8. 3 days later, I returned to work after my leave ended. The wounds on my arm have scabbed over, looking like 4 ugly centipedes. The looks from my teammates were complicated. Sympathy, curiosity, and even a hint of schadenfreude. After all, in The rural areas of 1975, a girl who dared to openly fall out with her future mother-in-law was a rare sight indeed. Jia Yuqing has not shown up at all. I heard that his mother fell ill after returning home, so he took leave to go back to the county town to take care of her. Zhou Xiaomei secretly told me. Jia Yuqing sent word through someone, saying you should take care of yourself. I laughed. That's wonderful. He's finally dropped the act. During a break from work, I went to the brigade headquarters to submit the materials. The accountant, a middle-aged man in his 40s, took it and glanced at it, frowning so hard you could squash a fly between his brows. Comrade Xin Yulan, I'm just stating the facts as they are, I said. As for how it's evaluated, I trust the organization will make a fair decision. He hesitated, then sighed. You're still too young and naive. Is it being immature? In my past life, I was too well behaved, so much so that I died without anyone even remembering my name. The team leader called me over as we were wrapping up for the afternoon. Xiao Shen, about your application. He took a drag on his pipe, smoke swirling around him. The team has discussed it. The quota for returning to the city still depends on overall performance. Comrade Jia Yuqing has an advantage in education, and her family is indeed in a tough spot. Captain, I interrupted him. My father is bedridden from a work injury, my mother has rheumatism, and my brother's fate in the military is unknown. Doesn't that count as hardship? He choked. I know the spot's already been decided. I smiled. I won't make things hard for you. I just ask one thing. Send my application materials to the commune exactly as they are. If the commune also thinks Comrade Jia Yuqing is more suitable, I won't have a single complaint. The team leader stared at me for a long time. Finally, he tapped his pipe against the sole of his shoe. You're quite different from how you usually seem, girl. Yeah, it's different now. How could someone who has died once ever be the same? 9. The captain ended up submitting my materials after all. On the morning of the 4th day, the commune sent 2 people down, a man and a woman. The man, surnamed Zhang, was in his 40s and wore black-rimmed glasses. The woman, surnamed Chen, was in her early 30s with short hair, looking very capable. The investigation was conducted at the squad headquarters, with individual interviews. When it was my turn, Comrade Chen spoke first. Comrade Xin Yulan, do you have any evidence to support the claims in your materials? I slid the ledger over. This is a detailed record of the money and grain Jia Yuqing borrowed from me over the past 2 years, with the date and reason for each entry. The biggest one was last October, when he said his mother was seriously ill and needed medicine, and borrowed 20 yuan. That was all my savings. Comrade Chen flipped through the pages, his brow furrowing deeper and deeper. Regarding the recommendation quota, I've only heard that his father is pulling some strings, I said calmly, but for an ordinary clerk in the county education bureau to secure a pre-arranged spot for his son among hundreds of sent-down youths to return to the city, that in itself is abnormal. Comrade Zhang adjusted his glasses and said, Comrade Xin Yulan, are you questioning the fairness of the organization? No, I said, looking at him. I'm asking for fairness from the organization. The room fell silent for a few seconds. Comrade Chen asked again, you haven't been home for 3 years, don't your parents miss you? Yes, I admitted honestly, but I don't want to trade marriage for a ticket back to the city. If I go back by marrying someone, I'll always be looked down on for the rest of my life. But Xiao Shen, Comrade Zhang's tone softened a bit. The reality is, for female educated youth who want to return to the city, marriage is indeed a way out. You're 21 this year. If you keep waiting, and you'll be taking the college entrance exam. I cut him off. Both of them were stunned. College entrance exam, Comrade Chen repeated. It's been suspended for 8 years now. It will resume, I said, softly but firmly. The country needs talent. It can't stop holding exams forever. Even as I say this, it sends a chill down my own spine. It's 1975 now. A full 2 years before the college entrance exams are reinstated. Saying something like this could easily get me labeled as having questionable political awareness, but Comrade Chen did not refute. She stared at me for so long that my palms started to sweat. How were your grades in high school? She asked abruptly. I graduated 3rd in my class, I said. I was best at Chinese and math. During those 3 years in the countryside, I always kept my textbooks with me and reviewed them whenever I had free time. She nodded and said no more. Just before the conversation ended, Comrade Zhang suddenly asked, that partner of yours, Comrade Jia Yuqing, I hear she's also quite studious. Yes, I paused. That's exactly why he should return to the city on his own merits, not through family connections. It wouldn't be fair to him, nor to the other educated youth, 10. The investigation team stayed in the village for 2 days. For those 2 days, the atmosphere at the entire educated youth settlement was eerily strange. Some people secretly glance at me, while others deliberately avoid me. Only Li Xiaoqiao still comes every day to read with me. She doesn't know many characters, so I started teaching her from Pinyin. Yulan, do you think the college entrance exam could really be reinstated? She asked cautiously. Yes, I said firmly, and when that time comes, it won't be about family background or connections, only scores will matter. Her eyes lit up for a moment, then dimmed again. But I didn't even finish middle school. Then start learning from now. I opened the textbook, learn 10 characters a day, and that's 3,600 in a year. In 2 years, you'll have caught up with all your middle school coursework. She bit her lip and nodded firmly. On the morning of the 3rd day, the investigation team left. In the afternoon, Jia Yuqing returned from the county town. He went straight to the female educated youth dormitory, his face ashen. Zhou Xiaomei tried to stop him, but he shoved her aside. Xin Yulan, we need to talk. Under the old locust tree outside the courtyard, he cut straight to the chase. Why did you go make a scene at the commune? Just reporting the situation. I leaned against the tree trunk. What's the matter? Only your family gets to make moves, but I'm not allowed to fight for fairness. You think you know what fairness is? He sneered. My dad had to beg and grovel, sucking up to everyone just to get this spot. Do you have any idea how many gifts he had to hand out? And you think you can just waltz in with a few words and ruin it all? So you're admitting it was bought with gifts? He froze. The setting sun stretched his shadow long, and on that face which once made my heart flutter, there was now only anger and impatience. It was the same in my past life. Every time I raised an objection, he would look at me with that expression, as if I were being unreasonable. Yulan, does it have to be this way? His tone softened as he stepped forward. I know it was my mom's fault before, and I apologize on her behalf, but about the marriage, could you reconsider? Once I get into college, I'll definitely take me back to the city. I finished his sentence for him. And then what? You'll study in the provincial capital while I take care of your mom in the county town. For years later, when you get a job assignment, you'll move me as your dependent. He opened his mouth but no words came out because I had hit the nail on the head about all his plans. Jia Yuqing, let's be completely honest with each other. I straightened up. You don't love me, you never have. You just wanted a free babysitter, someone to take care of your mother and act as a fool to make you look loyal and devoted. No, he said urgently, they really wanted to use me. I laughed. Too bad, fools in this world only get smart after they've died once. His expression shifted. What do you mean by that? I didn't explain, just said, when it comes to the return to city quota, let's each rely on our own abilities. If you're really capable, make the commune think you deserve to go back more than I do. With that, I turned to leave. Xin Yulan, he shouted from behind, you'll regret this. A woman like you, how many years can you tough it out in the countryside? By the time you're old and haggard, no one will even want to marry you. I stopped in my tracks and turned to look at him. The last ray of sunset fell across his face, young, handsome, yet so cold and cruel it sent a chill through the heart. Jia Yuqing, I said softly, I'd rather spend the rest of my life alone than be with you. 11. A week later, the commune sent out a notice. The results for the return to city quota came in. Neither Jia Yuqing nor I made the cut. When the brigade broadcast made the announcement, the entire educated youth settlement erupted into chaos. How could that be? Neither of the two most promising ones got selected. Who got the spot then? The team leader, holding a cigarette holder in his mouth, read out in a deadpan tone. After deliberation by the commune, it has been decided that this year's quota for returning to the city is granted to Comrade Li Xiaoqiao, on the grounds that she is the youngest, her family is in the greatest difficulty, and she has actively sought to make progress. Everyone was stunned. Even Li Xiaoqiao herself, standing right beside me, textbook still in hand, was completely dumbstruck. Me, her voice trembled. I shook her hand. It was ice cold. After the meeting, Jia Yuqing was the first to rush over, her eyes red. Was it you who pulled the strings? Since you couldn't get it, you deliberately ruined my spot. Do you think I have any say in the commune's decisions? I asked, looking at him calmly. Your so-called evidence, he said through gritted teeth. You must have framed me with it. The evidence is all true, I said, and the fact that the commune chose neither of us just shows the organization has clear eyes. You rely on connections. I'm impure in motives. Neither of us is as upright as that honest, hard-working young comrade from A. Struggling family, he trembled with rage, his fists clenched so tight they cracked. Zhou Xiaomei quickly pulled me away. Let's go, ignore him. That night, Li Xiaoqiao crawled into my bed with her pillow, sobbing softly. Yulan, I took your spot. Nonsense. I patted her on the back. You deserve this, but you need it more than I do. What I need is fairness, not charity. I stared at the pitch-black ceiling, and Xiaoqiao, you need to remember, this opportunity wasn't something you snatched away. The commune gave it to you because they saw that you're genuinely struggling and that you're an honest, hard-working person. She cried even harder. I held her, as if holding my past self from a former life, that self who believed the only way to change her fate was through marriage. So humble she felt reduced to dust. Once you get to the city, don't rush into marriage, I said. Find a job, save up some money, and if you get the chance, keep studying. In this life, a woman can only rely on herself. She nodded vigorously, her tears soaking my shoulder. 12. After the quota was finalized, Jia Yuqing completely burned bridges with me at the educated youth settlement. He publicly accused me of biting the hand that tried to lift me up, and said I was too calculating to be a good match. No one responded. Everyone knew the truth. The numbers in the ledger didn't lie, and they had all seen Wang Xiuying throwing a tantrum. Instead, I started preparing for something else. You're transferring to your grandma's place. Zhou Xiaomei's eyes widened. That place is even more remote than here, and a cross-county transfer. How tough is that? It has to be done, no matter how hard. I packed my few belongings. If I stay here, Jia Yuqing and his mother won't let me off. That's the truth. In her past life, even after getting married, Wang Xiuying would still pick fights every few days. Now that the marriage didn't happen, she's even less likely to let things slide. But what about your grandmother's side? Does your mom agree? She doesn't agree. I smiled, but this time, I'm not listening to her. Mother's reply arrived the day before yesterday, a full 4 pages long, half of it scolding me for being immature, the other half urging me to make up with Xiaojia right away. The most important thing in a woman's life is to find someone to rely on. You're already 21, if you keep being picky, no one will want you anymore. I burned the letter. Burn it all, along with every piece of wisdom she's sent over the years. The transfer request was submitted, and the captain approved it without hesitation. He couldn't wait to get rid of me, this troublemaker. Shen, when you get to a new place, keep that temper in check. There was a hidden meaning in his words. You won't always be this lucky. I get what he means. Lucky maybe, but more than anything, it was my all-in determination. The night before she left, I went to Li Xiaocao's new dormitory. The team had cleared out a single room for her to make it easier to pack her belongings. Yulan, she called out, her eyes reddening again at the sight of me. Don't cry. I pressed a cloth bundle into her hands. There's 20 yuan and 10 jin of food coupons inside. When you get to the city, find a place to settle down first. Don't hold back on spending. I can't accept this. Just consider it a loan, I said. Pay me back when you get a job. Clutching her cloth bag, tears dropping one after another, she sobbed. Yulan, will I ever see you again? Yes, we can. I wiped her tears away. Once the college entrance exams are reinstated, we'll take them together and go to the same university, be classmates. She nodded vigorously, as if making a vow. Stepping out of her room, the moon was full again. Moonlight spilled over the Lus Plateau, the land that trapped me through both my past and present lives. But this time, I chose to leave on my own accord. 13. It took half a month to process the cross-county transfer procedures. During this time, another scene erupted at Jia Yuqing's house. Wang Xiuying, upon hearing that I was leaving, came over and hurled insults at me, calling me a thief with a guilty conscience and shameless. I said right in front of the whole village, Aunt Wang, if you keep making a scene, I'll go to the County Women's Federation and report you for persecuting the female educated youth. Do you still want your son's future or not? She was so scared that she never came back. On July 18, 1975, I hopped on a tractor heading for the neighboring county. His luggage consisted of nothing but a battered wooden box, containing a few pieces of clothing, a set of textbooks, and a pair of cloth shoes with 1,000-layer soles that Grandma had sent 2 years ago. Her eyesight was failing, and her hands had swollen from stitching the soles in my past life. I never wore these shoes because Jia Yuqing said they were tacky. Now, I put it on top. The tractor chugged along, kicking up clouds of dust from the dirt road. Zhou Xiaomei ran after me and pressed 2 boiled eggs into my hand. Eat these on the way. Thank you. I shook her hand. Take care of yourself too. Maybe we'll take the college entrance exams together someday. Her eyes reddened. and she nodded vigorously. The car had driven far away, yet when I looked back, I could still see that row of mud brick houses at the educated youth settlement, the old locust tree, and the place I once thought would trap me for a lifetime. Goodbye. This time I will never look back. 14. My grandmother's home was in the Hongqi Brigade of Lulin Commune, even more remote than the previous place, but with beautiful mountains and clear waters. When my 70-year-old grandma saw me, she froze for a long moment, then threw her arms around me. Lon, how did you get so thin? She carried a faint scent of soap, just as it lingered in the memories of a past life. The last time I saw my grandmother in my past life was in 1982. By then she was already confused. She held my hand and said, Lon, don't sell yourself short. Don't end up like your grandma, spending your whole life living under a man's thumb. I didn't understand at the time. Got it now, Grandma. I'm here to keep you company. I choked out. All right. She wiped her tears. You're here. That's what matters. That foolish mother of yours insisted you marry some educated man. But educated people are full of tricks. We're not reaching for that high branch. On the first night we stayed, Grandma rummaged through boxes and chests, pulling out a small iron box from the Kong hole. Here, take this. She pressed it into my hands. It was left by your grandpa. It was meant to be your mother's dowry, but she insisted on marrying for love and found herself a. She didn't finish, but I understood. My mother was also an educated youth back in the day, and she married my father, this progressive young man. And what came of it? A complete mess. Opening the tin box, inside were odds and ends, $2 silver, an old fountain pen, and a little red booklet. I opened the red booklet and froze. That's the 1973 College Entrance Exam Review Outline. Even though it's obsolete, the knowledge points in it are still useful. Your grandpa used to say when he was alive that a scholar must read no matter what, Grandma said, stroking my head. Lon, if you want to take the exam, go ahead. I'll support you. I clutched that yellowed study outline, and finally, the tears came. I missed it in my past life. In this life, I will make it a reality. Outside the window, the chorus of summer insects swelled, one wave louder than the next. A new life begins. 15. The Red Flag Brigade was even poorer than I had imagined. Grandma's house was a 3-room adobe dwelling, with walls heavily peeled and a thatched roof so sparse it surely leaked when it rained. The room had no furniture other than a Kong, a rickety table, and 2 wooden chests. I'm sorry you had to put up with this, Grandma said, a little flustered. When your mother came back then, she complained that this place was too shabby and left after just one night. Bupo, I set down the wooden crate, a warm bed to sleep in and food to eat. That's home. Grandma's eyes reddened again. The first thing after settling in was to report to the brigade headquarters. Captain Liu of the Red Flag Brigade, in his 50s, had a dark red complexion and a booming voice. After reading my letter of introduction, he frowned and said, how did an educated youth get transferred here? Our team's educated youth station was disbanded long ago. I don't live at the sent down youth dormitory, I said. I stay at my grandma's place and work in the fields just like the other commune members. So how do you calculate your work points? Whatever it is, I'll take it, I said. I can handle it. Captain Liu sized up my scrawny frame, clearly unconvinced, but didn't say much. He waved his hand and said, all right, start work tomorrow. First, go with the women's team to pull weeds in the fields. On the way home, I mulled over my plans for the future. It is now the end of July, with 2 years and 3 months to go before the college entrance exam is reinstated. During this time, I had to take care of 3 things. First, earn enough to feed myself and not rely entirely on Grandma. Second, find study materials. And third, steer clear of potential trouble. In her previous life, Jia Yuqing started at the worker peasant soldier university in the autumn of 1975, and Lin Weiqing got involved with him in 1976. Without my support in this lifetime, can they still sail through smoothly? For dinner, we had corn porridge and pickled vegetables. Grandma scooped all the corn kernels from the porridge into my bowl, saying, you eat the thick part, I'll drink the thin, let's split it half and half. I pushed the bowl back while we were eating. There was a knock at the courtyard gate. A woman in her 40s stood at the door with short, ear-length hair, wearing a faded blue cloth shirt that had been washed pale. She held a bowl in her hands and said, Aunt Shen, I heard your granddaughter is visiting. I just made some fresh pancakes. Let the child have a taste. Grandma quickly got up and said, oh my, Teacher Li, how could I possibly? Teacher Li, I stood up too, my eyes falling on her hands holding the bowl. Her knuckles were large, her palms had thick calluses, but her nails were clean, and the bowl was scrubbed spotless white. This is my granddaughter, Xinyulan, Grandma introduced. Lan, this is Teacher Li Shuzhen from our team's elementary school. Good morning, Teacher Li. I bowed respectfully. Li Shuzhen looked me up and down with a gentle gaze and said, your accent doesn't sound like you're from around here, does it? I spent 3 years in the countryside in northern Shaanxi and just got transferred here, an educated youth. Huh, she nodded, handing me the bowl. Here, take it. Just made, still warm. In the bowl were 2 white flour pancakes, though mixed with cornmeal. In the rural countryside of 1975, they were already a rare treat of fine grain. I didn't refuse. I thanked her and took them. Li Shuzhen didn't leave right away. She stood at the door chatting with Grandma. Auntie Shen, it's perfect that your granddaughter is here. The school is starting a literacy class this fall and we're short on help. If she's willing, she can come lend a hand after work. The team will give her work points. My heart skipped a beat. Literacy class, I'm willing. I spoke up before Grandma could. Teacher Li, I'm a high school graduate. I can teach literacy and arithmetic. Li Shuzhen laughed. That would be wonderful. But, aren't you an educated youth? Don't you want to go back to the city? Yes, I admitted honestly, but I want to go back on my own merits, not by getting married. She stared at me for a moment, her smile deepening. Ambitious, come find me at the school after work tomorrow. After seeing Li Shuzhen off, Grandma closed the door and lowered her voice. Lan, Teacher Li is quite a capable woman. Her husband used to be a teacher at the county high school, but a few years back, he passed away. She's been raising 2 kids on her own, and she still insists on running literacy classes. Everyone in the brigade respects her. Holding the still warm pancake in my hand, an idea came to me. 16. The farm work at the Red Flag Brigade was lighter than in northern Shaanxi, mainly dry fields planted with corn and sorghum, without the need to build terraced fields like over there. But the July sun was just as scorching. On my first day of weeding, I followed behind the women's team, bent over, moving forward row by row. Sweat blurred my eyes, and soon blisters formed on my hands. Newly arrived educated youth, with skin so fair and tender, can you handle the hard work? Asked a woman in her 30s standing nearby. You'll get used to it eventually. I gritted my teeth. I heard you were transferred from northern Shaanxi. Why? I didn't say anything. Another voice chimed in. Why else? She must have worn out her welcome over there. I heard that. Gossip spreads faster than the wind. At lunch break, I sat on the ridge of the field, gnawing on a cornbread bun and washing it down with cold water. Li Shuzhen came over with a basket and handed me a boiled egg. Here, have this, it'll build you up. Teacher Li, I can't. Just take it. She sat down next to me. I heard you didn't say a single word today, just kept your head down and worked. I nodded. Good. She peeled another egg. This place is small. A tiny thing gets talked about for half a year. The more you explain, the more they get into it. Ignore it, and it'll die down after a while. Thank you, Teacher Li. Don't thank me. She looked at me. Xinyulan, I've been watching you all morning. Your weeding technique is off. Too much effort. Sink your waist, bend your knees, use the leverage. She demonstrated as she spoke. I followed her lead. And sure enough, it was much easier. Teacher Li, you really know your stuff. I was a sent-down youth too, she said calmly. Came down in 65, married someone, and ended up staying here. I was stunned. Don't follow my example. She dusted off her hands. If you get the chance, make sure you leave. 17. The literacy class was held in an empty room next to the team headquarters. Most of the students were middle-aged and young women from the team, along with a few older children. The textbook was compiled by Li Shuzhen herself, made from old newspapers cut into small booklets, with handwritten words and simple arithmetic. The first time I went, Li Shuzhen asked me to just sit in and observe. She had a knack for teaching, never using political jargon, starting instead with counting work points and rationing grain. The women listened attentively, because once they learned, they could do their own accounting and wouldn't have to worry about being cheated. Today, we're going to learn the character. Li Shuzhen wrote on the blackboard. On the left is rice, and on the right is good. Rice is a good thing, and means good. Only with grain can life be good. Someone in the crowd chuckled. Teacher Li, there's only 20 gene left on my family's grain ration book this month. What's there to celebrate? That's why learning to read is even more important. Li Shuzhen also smiled. Once you can read, you can understand policies, keep accounts straight, and reason with your kids. That's what good really means. After class, she asked me, what do you think? It was great, I said sincerely. Starting from daily life makes people willing to learn. then start teaching arithmetic tomorrow, she said. Begin with workpoint conversions, cloth and grain coupons. I nodded vigorously. That evening, I was preparing lessons under the oil lamp. Grandma was stitching the sole of a shoe when she suddenly said, "Teacher Lee's husband has been gone for 8 years now." So many people urged her to remarry, but she refused. She said she wants to put both kids through school and keep running the literacy class. She's incredible. Yeah, Grandma sighed. A woman's life is just too hard. I didn't respond and continued writing the lesson plan, yet the thought in my mind grew clearer and clearer. 18 In mid-August, I received my first month's work points. Full-time female laborers earned 7 points a day, but since I was just starting out, I was given 6, with the additional subsidy from the literacy class. I got a total of 180 work points. In terms of grain, that would be 36 gene of corn and 8 gene of sorghum. Not much, but enough for my grandma and me to have some watery porridge. Li Shuzhen knew I was studying for the exam. One day after class, she called me to her office and took out a few books from the drawer. This was left by my husband. She stroked the book cover, a self-study series for math, physics, and chemistry, the 1964 edition. A bit old, but the fundamentals don't change. I took it from her. It felt heavy in my hands. "Teacher Lee, this is too precious. Books are wasted just sitting on a shelf," she said. "I've seen you staying up late studying after work every day. With that kind of drive, you're sure to succeed, don't you think?" "I'm just chasing a pipe dream," I asked. "The college entrance exam has been suspended for 8 years, she smiled. "My husband used to say that a country under construction can't afford to turn away talent forever. It was only a matter of time before the college entrance exams would be reinstated. Just don't repeat that outside." My eyes welled up. "Thank you, you're welcome." She gazed out the window. "My generation won't make it in time, but yours, there's still hope." 19 In early September, a letter arrived from Zhou Xiaomei. The letter was quite thick and covered 3 matters. 1. Li Xiaoqiao has returned to the city and been assigned to work at a textile mill. She wrote to thank me. 2. Jia Yuqing did end up going to college, but not the provincial workers, peasants, and soldiers' university he originally aimed for. Instead, he went to a newly established May 7th university in a neighboring province, which had a shorter academic program and lower prestige. I heard his father spent all the money the family had saved over 10 years to secure that spot. His mother got so furious she fell seriously ill and is still bedridden. 3. Lin Weiqing also transferred. She went to teach as a temporary substitute teacher at a county elementary school. Some people say they've seen her exchanging letters with Jia Yuqing, but nobody knows if it's true. After reading the letter, I burned it. Grandma asked, "Who sent the letter?" "Former teammate," I said. "Said someone got what they deserved." Grandma didn't ask any more questions. While preparing lessons at night, I secretly jotted down a schedule on the back of my lesson plan book. September 1975 to December 1976, completed full high school review while teaching literacy classes to save money. 1977, awaiting college entrance exam results, giving it my all. 1978, entered university. In 1979 I stopped writing. In my previous life, by 1979, I had already given birth to a daughter. That year, Jia Yuqing was promoted to teaching assistant and began staying out all night. In this life, where would I be in 1979? I don't know, but certainly not in the Jia family. 20 In late October, the Red Flag Brigade welcomed its first autumn rain. It had been raining for 3 days, making fieldwork impossible and putting the literacy classes on hold. Flipping through the book Li Shuzhen had given me at home, I found many notes scribbled in the margins, delicate, neat handwriting that belonged to Li Shuzhen's husband. Next to an example problem in solid geometry, it read, "Shuzhen said she didn't understand. Needs a diagram to explain," beside a section on chemical equations on another page. This section can be paired with real-life examples, like fermentation or pickling vegetables. I could almost picture it. Many years ago, on a nighttime like this, the couple sat together, one lamp, 2 books, one explaining, the other listening. Lon, Grandma called me from the other end of the Kong. "Teacher Li is here." I quickly got off the Kong. Li Shuzhen held a tattered oil paper umbrella, her pant legs soaked halfway up, clutching a cloth bundle to her chest. "On a rainy day like this, I brought you something." Unwrapping the cloth bundle, there was half a ream of paper, 2 bottles of ink, and an old but intact fountain pen. "Well, it was my late husband's," she said softly. "It's just sitting there unused. You can take it for writing. When you're reviewing, the palest ink is better than the best memory." I held that fountain pen, its barrel warm and smooth, as if still carrying the warmth of its owner. Teacher Lee, I don't know how to thank you. Study hard. She looked at me, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. For me, for all of us. For my generation who never got the chance to go to school, study hard. The rain was still falling, drumming against the thatched roof. That fountain pen felt heavy in my palm, like a legacy passed down. 21 In the winter of 1975, a heavy snow fell on the Red Flag Brigade. My daily routine settled into a pattern, working or teaching during the day, and reviewing my studies in the evening. Grandma kept the Kong warm and toasty, and I would hunch over the Kong table, studying until late into the night. Li Shuzhen often came by, sometimes bringing a handful of fried soybeans, sometimes 2 roasted sweet potatoes. She checked on my progress, helped me with questions, and occasionally talked about things from the past. My husband passed away in '68, she said one evening, out of the blue. Some people said his thinking was problematic. He was criticized and denounced for 3 days and nights. On the morning of the 4th day, he was gone. I put down my pen. I was 5 months pregnant with my youngest son at the time, she said calmly, as if talking about someone else. I wanted to go with him, but I didn't dare, thinking of the baby in my belly. Professor Lee, so you see, she smiled, fine lines appearing at the corners of her eyes. When you're alive, you have to keep moving forward. Dying is easy, living is hard, but no matter how hard it gets, you have to live with dignity. I gripped the pen tightly. I will. I said, I'll live with dignity, no matter what. The snow falls quietly outside the window. The year 1975 was coming to an end. This year, I left Jia Yuqing, left the cage that trapped my past life. That year, I met Li Shuzhen and held the pen that carried hope. That year, I was 21, having nothing, yet possessing everything, because I knew the road was beneath my feet, but this time I would walk it myself. 22 The spring of 1976 arrived unusually late. Even by March, the frozen ground of the Red Flag Brigade hadn't completely thawed. Starting work in the morning, when the shovel struck the ground, it could only leave a white mark, but the popularity of the literacy classes grew like weeds in spring. Teacher Shen, how do you write the character? Is it pronounced the same as Teacher Shen? I'm calculating work points, 7 points a day, 2 points per caddy of corn. So how many caddies of corn can I get for 35 points? After class, the women crowded around me, firing questions from all sides. They held small notebooks made of rough paper, and their pencil stubs were so short they could barely hold them, so they slipped wooden sticks over the ends to keep writing. Take your time, ask one at a time. I wiped the blackboard and started writing again. Li Shuzhen stood at the back of the classroom, arms crossed, smiling. Only after everyone had dispersed did she walk over and say, not bad, Shen Yulan, in just half a year, you've become Teacher Shen. You're a great teacher, I said as I packed up my lesson plans. Don't be so modest. She pulled up a stool for me. Nowadays, every sister-in-law and auntie in the team gives you a thumbs up when your name comes up. They say Teacher Shen is patient, explains things clearly, and never makes them feel dumb. I carefully collected the chalk stubs into the small tin box. This was Li Shuzhen's husband's keepsake, now mine. Teacher Li, I have an idea, I said. Teaching just literacy and arithmetic isn't enough. Could we add a general knowledge class? What? Common sense, for example, how to prevent diarrhea in children, how to treat burns, and how to identify common wild vegetables and poisonous mushrooms. I paused. All practical stuff that can save lives. Li Shuzhen's eyes lit up. That's a great idea. I'll go talk to Captain Liu and ask him to borrow some materials from the clinic. I nodded, my mind working on something else. In the summer of 1976, a flash flood hit the Red Flag Brigade, washing away the homes of 2 families. Although no one died, a child had his leg crushed, and due to improper treatment, he ended up with a permanent disability. If only some first aid knowledge could be taught in advance. What are you thinking about? Li Shuzhen tapped me on the shoulder. Nothing, I snapped back to reality. By the way, Mr. Li, you mentioned the county library last time. Yes, I went and asked. She pulled a small notebook out of her cloth bag. We can borrow it, but we need a letter from the work unit, plus a deposit. I'll figure something out. She always said I'll figure something out, and then she really did. 23 In early April, Grandma's rheumatism flared up again. My knee is swollen like a balloon, and I can't even get out of bed. I took 3 days off to care for her during the day, and at night, after she fell asleep, I read by the light of an oil lamp. Li Shuzhen brought a pack of herbal medicine, mugwort leaves and safflower. boiled in water for steaming, can help ease the pain. While I was brewing the medicine, she sat on the edge of the Kong and chatted with Grandma. Aunt Shen, your granddaughter here is going to go places. Grandma sighed. It's all my fault for holding her back. Her mother wrote a few days ago, saying she set her up with a guy from the county grain station and wants her to go back and meet him. My hand froze, and I nearly knocked over the medicine pot. I'm not going, I said. I don't rely on marriage to make a living. Grandma was moved to tears by my words, probably shaken by my mother's letter. Lon, I know you have ambition. But a woman's life, you have to accept your fate. Accept your fate. These two words again. In my past life, my mother said, my grandmother said, all women said. It seems that from the moment a woman is born, there's only one path laid out for her: marry, bear children, serve her in-laws, endure until old age, and then push her own daughter down the same road. Grandma, I set down the medicine pot, dried my hands, and sat on the edge of the Kong. Back then, why did you insist on making my mom go to school? Grandma was taken aback. But didn't your grandpa say that studying makes you understand reason? Yes, reading brings wisdom. I took her hand. Reading taught me that women don't have to be confined to the kitchen. It taught me that our country's development needs talent, regardless of gender. And it also taught me. I looked into her eyes and said, word by word, fate isn't something you accept, it's something you change. Grandma stared at me blankly, tears clinging to the lines on her face. Li Shuzhen quietly gave me a thumbs up. 24. By mid-April, both the letter of introduction and the deposit had been processed. Li Shuzhen asked a relative in the county to help her borrow 5 books from the library, 2 follow-up volumes from the self-study series on mathematics, physics, and chemistry, 1 copy of Basic Knowledge of Chinese, 1 of General Knowledge of Politics, and 1 more. The 1973 edition of the College Entrance Exam Review Outline, supplementary materials. My hands were trembling by the time I saw the last one. I can still borrow this. I dug this out from the library storeroom. Li Shuzhen lowered her voice. Quick, take a look, return it as soon as you're done. It'll be trouble if anyone finds out. I get it, given the current climate, such books are still considered sensitive. That evening, I opened the supplementary materials. The paper has yellowed, but the print remains clear. The example problems, key exam points, and even the direction of the predicted questions closely align with the actual exam papers from 1977, when the college entrance exams were reinstated. As I remember them, I treasure it like a precious gem. For the next half-month, I was completely consumed by obsession, teaching and working during the day, reading books until the early hours of the morning. At night, if his eyes were bloodshot from staying up, he would cool them with cold water. If his hands were numb from the cold, he would warm them by tucking them into his chest. For a moment, Grandma felt sorry for her, but she didn't dare to persuade her. She knew it would be useless. Only Li Shuzhen would occasionally come to check on my progress. Seeing the dense calculations covering my scratch paper, she would fall silent for a long time, then say, take care of yourself. If your health collapses, nothing else matters. One day in May, she brought news. The county is organizing a worker peasant soldier student recommendation exam, with 2 spots per commune, she said. It's not the official college entrance exam, but if you pass, you can go to the regional teachers' college for training, and you'll be guaranteed a job assignment after graduation. My heart skipped a beat. When you sign up at the end of June, and the exam is in early July, she looked at me. Do you want to give it a try? I think I miss it so much. This is my first real exam opportunity. But, Professor Li, do you think I can get in, whether you can pass or not? You'll only know after taking the exam, she said. But Xin Yulan, I have to warn you, this recommendation exam isn't just about grades, it also depends on political performance and peer evaluation. You're an educated youth and an outsider. I understand. Even if I come first in the exam, I could still be rejected because of my background. I still have to take the exam, I said, even if I don't get in. It's a good practice run. Li Shuzhen smiled. I knew you'd say that. Leave the registration to me. In early June, Zhou Xiaomei wrote again. The letter is short, but packed with information. Yulan, Jia Yuqing has dropped out of school. I heard it was because he got into a fight and got expelled. Lin Weiqing's position as a substitute teacher is also gone. Someone reported her for having improper conduct. They're both in the county town now, and word is they're getting married soon. I folded the letter and put it away. I feel nothing inside. In their past lives, everything went smoothly for them. One became a scholar, the other an associate professor, stepping all over me as their stepping stone. basking in endless glory in this life. Without my support and sacrifice, they wouldn't even be able to finish college. Retribution is swift and sure, but I don't have time to gloat. At the end of June, registration for the recommended exam began. Li Shuzhen indeed had a way. She went to the commune's cultural and education assistant, saying that the literacy class of the Red Flag Brigade had achieved outstanding results and needed an educated sent-down youth to help compile materials, and also to take the exam as a way to evaluate the teaching outcomes. The letter of introduction went smoothly on the registration form. I hesitated for a long time at the application category section. There are 3 options: teacher training, agriculture and forestry, and healthcare. In her previous life, Jia Yuqing studied at a normal school, then switched to administrative work and climbed the ranks steadily. I picked up my pen and checked the box next to teacher training. It's not about following his path, it's to prove that the path he can walk, I can walk too, and I can walk it even better. 25 In early July, the exam was held at the county middle school. The exam room held over 30 people, most of them educated youths in their early 20s, along with a few local worker peasant soldier students. The invigilator handed out the papers with a blank expression, and the air was thick with the tense smell of sweat. Chinese, politics, and math, 3 subjects, all tested in one day. The exam was easier than I expected. Chinese was a reflection on serve the people, politics covered basic theories, and math was only at a junior high school level. But I know that with simple questions, the details matter even more. As I handed in my exam paper, a male educated youth next to me leaned in and asked, "Hey, how did you draw the auxiliary line for that last geometry problem?" I ignored him. "Who do you think you are, acting all high and mighty?" He walked away in a huff. As I walked out of the exam hall, Li Shuzhen was waiting for me at the door. "How did it go?" "Not bad," I said, "but getting in, hard to say." She patted me on the shoulder and said, "Do what you can, and let fate take care of the rest." During the 2 weeks of waiting for the results, I went to work and taught classes as usual. It was just that when I was reading at night, my mind would occasionally wander. If I passed the exam, I can leave the Red Flag Brigade and go to the Regional Teachers College for further training. It's not a proper university, but at least it's a way forward. If I don't get in, then just keep reviewing and wait for the college entrance exam. The notice arrived at the end of July. I didn't get in. When Li Shuzhen told me the results, her tone was calm. 2 people were admitted, both children of local officials. "Your score was third almost," but she shifted the topic. The cultural and education assistant read your Chinese exam paper and said your writing shows real depth of thought. He asked if you'd like to work as a correspondent at the commune radio station. It's a temporary position, but there's a chance to become a regular employee. I was stunned. Broadcasting station, good work. It'll help you gain writing experience and get exposure to policy documents. Li Shuzhen looked at me. "Are you in?" I thought about it and shook my head. "Why?" she asked, surprised. "Because my goal isn't to become a regular employee, it's to pass the college entrance exam," I said. "Working at the radio station will definitely be busy and take up study time. Besides, I don't want to be arranged anymore. In my past life, I was arranged for 30 years, marriage, having children, relocating, every step was decided by others. In this life, I want to choose for myself." Li Shuzhen was silent for a moment, then smiled. "Fine, you have your own opinion." She handed the notice back to me and said, "Keep it as a souvenir. If it didn't work out this time, there's always next time." I took the thin piece of paper. It had my name, my score, and a line in small print. "This comrade's political awareness needs improvement." I smiled, awakening. My philosophy is to never believe in fate, never admit defeat, and never back down. 26 In August, news of the devastating Tangshan earthquake arrived. The whole nation was shocked. The Red Flag Brigade organized donations of money and supplies, and I contributed 5 yuan, saved from the subsidies I earned teaching at the literacy class. When registering the donation, Captain Liu glanced at me and said, "Xiao Shen, you're not exactly well off yourself." "I just wanted to do my part," I said. He nodded and said nothing more, but the next day, he called me to the team headquarters. "The commune is organizing an earthquake relief publicity team to go down to each brigade and give talks on earthquake preparedness. Our team is recommending you to go." "Me, you've got experience teaching literacy classes, and people enjoy listening to you speak," he said. "You'll get 10 work points a day, and meals are covered too." Without hesitation, I said, "I'll go." This is not for the sake of work points, it's because I remember that in the fall of 1976 in my past life, There were a few minor earthquakes around here. They didn't hurt anyone, but they caused widespread panic. If only we could spread knowledge in advance. The propaganda team consisted of 5 people, 3 commune officials and 2 representatives of the educated youth. After just 2 days of training, they were sent to the squad. I'm responsible for explaining earthquake preparedness measures for families, how to reinforce your home, put together an emergency kit, and take cover during an earthquake. What they talk about is common knowledge to later generations, but in 1976, it was all brand new. The club members listening below shifted from being initially inattentive to earnestly taking notes as the session progressed. Once, after a talk in a neighboring village, an elderly woman grabbed my hand and said, "Dear, you mentioned putting thick quilts under the bed. How much cotton would that take? My family only has 1 quilt, old clothes will do, just roll them up and use them as padding." I said, "The main thing is cushioning, it doesn't have to be cotton." She left, expressing her heartfelt thanks over and over again. Old Chen, a commune cadre in his 50s, leading the team, came to me privately after a few of my presentations and asked, "Comrade Xiao Shen, are you an educated youth?" "Yes." "What year did you graduate?" 1972, he nodded. "Well said, clear and insightful. Have you ever thought about staying on to work at the commune?" "Thank you, Director Chen, but I still want to study," I declined with a smile. He paused for a moment, then smiled. "Ambitious, good. Prepare well, the country needs young people like you." September, the promotion ends. I received 120 work points and a banner reading Outstanding Propagandist. Grandma hung the pennant in the most prominent spot in the main room, telling everyone she met, "My granddaughter earned this." 27 In early October, a rumor quietly spread. The tone on the radio had changed, the articles in the newspapers had changed, and even the political lessons in the literacy classes had been swapped out. One evening, Li Shuzhen came over with a grave expression. "The winds are about to shift," she said. I said nothing, but my heart was pounding. I know what she's talking about. I also know that after this change of weather, spring will come. In late October, the official document was issued. The entire nation is caught in a complex mix of emotions, grief, confusion, but also a faint glimmer of hope. Indiana, November. The literacy class was suspended for half a month. When I saw Li Shuzhen again, she had lost a lot of weight, but her eyes were bright. "Shen Yulan, the opportunity you've been waiting for might be coming." "You mean, wait?" She pressed my hand. "Wait a little longer." "Wait, I've been waiting for 2 years. We can make it through these last few months." 28 The winter of 1976 was exceptionally cold, but the literacy class in the Hongqi Brigade started up again. This time, they weren't just teaching reading and arithmetic, they also taught new songs and read new articles. The classroom was packed, and the coal stove was glowing red hot. I stood before the blackboard and wrote down the content of the first lesson of the new year. Spring, the season that begins the cycle of the year, and the sky that arches above us. When spring arrives, all things revive, and hope begins to grow. Below, men, women, the old and the young all chanted along. Spring, hope is also growing. Outside the window, the north wind howled, but I know that after the wind passes, the frozen earth will crack, and grass shoots will push through. Just like this country, just like my life. The coldest winter has already passed. 29 The spring of 1977 began with a late cold snap. It was already March, but I still clung to the ditches of the Red Flag Brigade. But the literacy classroom was buzzing with energy. After class, Li Shuzhen pulled me to the back of the classroom and whispered, "There's a rumor going around." "What rumor?" "They're considering reinstating the college entrance exam." My heart skipped a beat, and the chalk in my hand snapped with a crisp crack. "Is the news reliable?" "My brother works at the provincial education department," he hinted at it in a letter. Li Shuzhen's eyes were blazing bright. "There's no official document yet, but it's coming soon." I took a deep breath, and the cold air stung my lungs. 2 years and 3 months since the summer of 1975. All I'd been waiting for is this day. "How's the review going?" she asked. "I've already gone through math, physics, and chemistry twice, and I'm reviewing Chinese and politics every day," I said. "But English?" In 1977, whether the college entrance exam included English varied by province. As far as I remember, our province's score was only a reference and didn't count toward the total. "But just in case, I can't help you with English." Li Shuzhen frowned. "There's not a single person in the whole commune who knows English." "It's fine," I said. "Focus on the big picture and let the small stuff slide." She patted me on the shoulder and said, "Just a few more months, hang in there." hang in there. These two words became my entire belief in the spring of 1977. 30 in April, Grandma's condition worsened. The rheumatism had turned into arthritis, and her legs were so swollen they looked shiny, leaving her unable to get out of bed. The village barefoot doctor came to see her, prescribed a few doses of Chinese herbal medicine, and shook his head, saying, "At her age, it's hard to recover." I took an extended leave to take care of her around the clock. By day, I decocted medicine, bathed her, and cooked meals. By night, after she fell asleep, I read by the light of an oil lamp. Sometimes, as I read, my head would slump onto the table, and I'd jolt awake to find the lamp nearly extinguished. Li Shuzhen came by every day, sometimes bringing brown sugar, sometimes a few eggs. "You can't go on like this," she said. "If your health collapses, how will you take the exam?" "I can hold on." Holding up my ass, she rarely cursed. "Look at the dark circles under your eyes. Your face is so thin it's nothing but bones." I said nothing and continued feeding Grandma her medicine. After giving her the medicine, Grandma held my hand, tears streaming down her face. "Lon, I've been such a burden on you." "It's no burden," I wiped her tears away. "You raised me when I was young, and I'll take care of you in your old age. It's only right, but you have an exam, you'll get in." I tightened my grip on her hand. "You absolutely will." These words were meant for her, but also for myself. By the end of April, Grandma's condition had stabilized a bit. I resumed my studies, but my time was shattered into fragments, reciting politics between brewing medicine, solving math problems while tending the fire. Only in the dead of night could I read systematically. One late night, I was trying to solve an analytic geometry problem but just couldn't figure it out. 3 sheets of scratch paper were filled, and tears suddenly fell. It's not about feeling wronged, it's fear, afraid that even if I start over, I still won't pass, afraid all the effort was in vain. I fear that in this life, I still can't break free from that cycle. The oil lamp crackled as a spark burst from the wick. I wiped away my tears and pulled out another sheet of paper. Calculate again. 31 in May, another letter from Zhou Xiaomei arrived. This time it's not a letter, but a package. The package contained 2 items, a handwritten copy of English 900 sentences with neat penmanship, and a letter. "Yulan, I heard you're planning to take the college entrance exam. I got this book for you through a contact in Shanghai. It's a bit worn, but it covers all the basics. Go for it, make us educated youth proud." I opened the handwritten book. The paper was coarse, but every letter was written with great care. On the last page, Zhou Xiaomei added a line: "Jia Yuqing and Lin Weiqing got married and held 3 tables of banquet in the county town. I heard Lin Weiqing is pregnant, and Jia Yuqing is working as a temporary laborer on the county construction team. They're barely scraping by." I tore out the page and threw it into the furnace. The flames licked up, and soon it was reduced to ashes. I take no pleasure in their misfortune, just feels distant, feels like a lifetime ago. 32 in mid-June, the official news came down. Li Shuzhen returned from a meeting at the commune, called me to her house, closed the door, and her voice was trembling. "It's settled, the college entrance exam is back this year, registration in October, exams in December." I sat on her worn-out wicker chair, completely frozen. Even though I knew it would come, now that it's here, it still feels like a dream. "The enrollment requirements have been relaxed," she said rapidly. "Workers, farmers, educated youths, demobilized soldiers, age limit extended to 30, marital status doesn't matter. Political review mainly looks at your personal conduct. Each one is more shocking than the last. What subjects are being tested? Subject division for arts and sciences. Arts track exams, politics, Chinese, math, history, and geography. Science track exams, politics, Chinese, math, physics, and chemistry. Foreign language as a reference score." My mind was racing. I studied sciences, physics, and chemistry are no problem. I'm confident in math, and Chinese and politics are my strong suits. Registration materials. I stood up. "Need a work unit certificate, a political review form, and, don't panic." Li Shuzhen held me down. "I'll handle all this. You just need to do one thing now." She stared into my eyes. "Study like hell." 33 From that day on, I entered the real sprint. I never sleep more than 4 hours a day. When I feel drowsy, I splash cold water on my face. When I'm hungry, I just gnaw on a cornbread. After Grandma got a bit better and could slowly move around on her own, she would sit on the Kong and help me organize my materials, smoothing out each sheet of scribbled-on draft paper and folding them neatly. "Grandma, take a rest. Not tired?" She wore reading glasses, her fingers trembling but earnest. My Granddaughter is about to take the college entrance exam, so I have to help. In early July, Li Shuzhen brought the registration form, a thick stack of forms to fill out, personal resume, family background, and application preferences. In the application preference column, I wrote without hesitation first choice, Peking University, Mathematics Department second choice, Fudan University, Physics Department third choice, Provincial Institute of Finance and Economics, Accounting Department. Li Shuzhen looked at it and gasped, Peking University, if I'm going to apply, I might as well aim for the best, I said. If I don't get in, at least I won't have any regrets. She looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. All right, you've got ambition. The political review form requires stamps from both the brigade and the commune levels. Captain Liu said cheerfully. Xiao Shen, do well in the exam and bring honor to our red flag brigade. But things got stuck at the commune office. The clerk in charge of stamping documents, a man in his 30s, looked over my form for a long time. Shin Yulan, oh, you're that educated youth who refused to go to the broadcasting station. My heart sank. Comrade, is there a problem? Well, the thing is, he drawled, your family background is fine, and your personal performance is decent, but this college application of yours, Peking University, isn't that aiming a bit too high? If the country allows it to be reported, I dare to report it, I said. Young man, you need to keep your feet on the ground. He pushed the form back. Tell you what, change your preference to a local teacher's college or agricultural college, and I'll stamp it for you. I stared at him. What if I don't change? Well, this chapter needs further study, a blatant act of making things difficult. Li Shuzhen grew anxious on the side. Comrade Wang, Comrade Shin Yulan is our commune's literacy advanced worker and propaganda model. She is fully qualified. Teacher Li, don't get worked up, Comrade Wang said with a fake smile. I'm doing this for her own good. Do you think Peking University is that easy to get into? If she fails, won't that be a waste of a spot? I laughed, slowly picked up the form and tore it up right in front of him. What are you doing? He jumped up. Since the commune won't stamp it, I won't submit the application. I tossed the shreds into the trash bin, but I'll write to the provincial admissions office about what happened today. Restoring the college entrance exam is a central government policy. What right does a commune-level body have to tamper with a candidate's choices? His face changed. Who are you trying to scare? Whether it's a bluff or not, you can try it yourself. I turned around and left. Li Shuzhen chased after her, calling out, Yulan, how could you be so impulsive? Without the commune stamp, how are you going to sign up? I have a way. 34. My plan is to go to the county seat, go directly to the county admissions office, and report the situation truthfully. The person in charge of reception was a female comrade in her 50s, surnamed Zhao, wearing glasses. After listening to me, she frowned deeply. Did the commune block your volunteer application? Yes. Nonsense. She slammed the table. Central documents clearly state that candidates have the right to choose their own preferences, and no organization is allowed to interfere. She handed me a new form right on the spot. Fill it out here, and I'll take it as soon as you're done. When I was filling out the form, she glanced at my choice of school but said nothing. Only after I finished did she speak. Young lady, Peking University is indeed hard to get into, but since you have the ambition, I support you. Thank you, Teacher Zhao. Don't thank me, she said. If you want to thank someone, thank this era for giving you a level playing field. Stepping out of the county admissions office, the sunlight was blinding. I stood on the main street of the county town, watching the people coming and going. Bicycle bells jingled, and new slogans were painted on the walls. Everything was the same as in a past life, yet nothing was the same this time. I am no one's wife, no one's mother. I'm just Shin Yulan, a sent-down youth preparing for college entrance exams. 35 August, the review intensifies to a fever pitch. Li Shuzhen gave me all the notes her husband left behind, along with a few precious copies of the collection of past competition problems. I treasured it like a rare gem and stayed up late every night devouring it. Grandma's condition fluctuated between good and bad, but she never complained of pain. Sometimes when I studied until the early hours, she would silently sit at the other end of the Kong, draping a coat over me and handing me a cup of hot water. Lon, don't push yourself too hard, there's no choice but to go all in, I said. You only get one shot. She sighed and stopped trying to persuade. In late August, a heavy rainstorm triggered a flash flood. The Red Flag Brigade is located in a low-lying area, and several households have been flooded. Li Shuzhen and I organized the women from the literacy class to help evacuate the elderly and children, and to rush the transport of grain. After 2 days and nights of hard work, the floodwaters receded, and I collapsed from exhaustion with a fever of 39 degrees Celsius. He was lying in bed, delirious. The barefoot doctor came and said it was overwork combined with a chill. Li Shuzhen was pacing anxiously. There are only 3 months left until the exam. I lay in a daze, dreaming of the examination hall from a past life. I couldn't get in because Jia Yuqing said, with only a middle school education, "What are you taking the exam for? Just stay home and take care of the kids." When I woke up, Grandma was wiping away her tears. "Grandma, I'm fine," I said in a hoarse voice. "It's still nothing," she sobbed. "If anything happens to you, how will your grandmother live on?" I held her hand. "I promise you, I will get into university and take you to the city for a good life." She cried even harder. After being sick for a week, the fever finally broke. Li Shuzhen came to see me, bringing a jar of malted milk, an absolute rarity in these times. "Nourish your body," she said. "Health is the foundation of all endeavors." I didn't refuse. I made 2 cups, one for Grandma and one for myself to sip slowly, cloyingly sweet. But it warms the heart. 36 Registration officially opens in October. The county set up a registration point, and it was packed with people. There were high school students aged 17 or 18, educated youths in their 20s and 30s, and middle-aged people with families in tow. I stood in line for 3 hours just to submit my documents. The staff member checked my information. Shin Yulan, 21 years old, educated youth, applying for science, come pick up your admission ticket next month. Stepping out of the crowd, the sun was just right. A young man in his early 20s came over. "Comrade, are you also an educated youth? Which school are you applying to?" I ignored him and walked away quickly. It's not about being aloof. I just don't have the time. Time has become my most precious luxury. Every day, from the moment I open my eyes, it's all about memorizing, solving problems, and reviewing. Handwritten notes stacked half a foot high, and the used draft paper could fill a whole sack. In early November, the admission ticket was issued, a thin piece of paper, printed with my name, exam room, and seat number. I carefully tucked my admission ticket into my textbook and checked it every night before bed. It was both a confirmation and a reminder. "Shin Yulan, you only have this one chance." 37 Early December, a week before the exam, Li Shuzhen called me to the school, locked the door, and took an envelope out of the drawer. "My younger brother sent this from the provincial capital," her voice trembling. "Last year's college entrance exam mock tests." I caught my breath. In 1977, when the college entrance exam was reinstated, there were no past exam papers or mock tests. This set of questions might be the only one of its kind in the entire province. "I'm only showing this to you." She stared at me. "Read it, then burn it." My hands trembled so violently that I could barely hold the envelope as I took it. "Teacher Lee, this is too. Don't thank me." She waved her hand. "Getting in is the best thanks you can give me." That night, I didn't study. By the light of an oil lamp, I went through that set of questions 3 times. First pass, time yourself. Second pass, scrutinize the details. Third pass, summarize the key points. By the time it was done, the sky was already growing light. As promised, I burned the questions. By the flickering firelight, I silently noted down the last few tricky points. 38 December 10th, the day of the exam. Grandma got up at 3 in the morning, boiled 3 eggs for me, and made 2 pancakes. "Eat your fill, so you'll have the strength to take the exam." I can't eat anymore, but I forced it down anyway. Li Shuzhen borrowed the team's tractor and personally drove me to the county exam center. Throughout the journey, she didn't say a word, just held my hand tightly. My palms were slick with sweat. I couldn't tell if it was hers or mine. The exam venue was set at the county's No. 1 high school, with a dense crowd of people packed at the entrance. Some were parents seeing off their children, some were wives seeing off their husbands, and some, like me, came alone. "Shin Yulan," someone called me. Turning around, it turned out to be Zhou Xiaomei. She pushed through the crowd and threw her arms around me. "I knew you'd come to take the exam. How could you?" "I signed up too," she said with a smile, "but I'm just here to make up the numbers. No way I'll pass. You, though, you've got to make it." The bell rang. "Go on in." Li Shuzhen gave me a gentle push. "Don't be nervous, just do your best." I took a deep breath and walked into the exam hall. "Find your seat and sit down." The proctor opened the sealed exam papers and handed them out. First subject, politics. The moment the exam paper was turned over, the world fell silent. All that remained was the soft rustle of the pen tip gliding across the paper. I know, from this moment on, my life, completely transformed. 39 The moment the political exam papers were handed out, A collective gasp rippled through the exam hall. The problem is harder than anyone imagined. The difficulty lies not in depth, but in breadth. From the basic principles of Marxist philosophy to the latest policy directives, from party history to international affairs, a full 8 pages, 2.5 hours. I took a deep breath and started reading from the first question. 1. Briefly describe the scientific connotation and practical significance of the ideological line of seeking truth from facts. 20 points. Just start writing. The scratch of pens against paper became the only rhythm in the exam hall. Someone in the front was scratching their head in frustration, and someone in the back let out a sigh, but my eyes were fixed solely on the test paper. All those nights of burning the midnight oil in a past life, all that persistence in copying policy documents, now converged at the tip of the pen in this moment, finishing the final stroke. I looked up at the clock and saw there were 40 minutes left. I went through it from the beginning, corrected 2 typos, and added 1 piece of supporting evidence. When I handed in my exam paper, the proctor gave me an extra glance. I was the first one in the room to finish. Stepping out of the classroom, the cold wind hit me, and only then did I realize my back was soaked with sweat. How did the exam go? Zhou Xiaomei waited at the door, her face red from the cold. Not bad, I said. Are you done with your answers? I barely finished writing. She stomped her feet. I'm probably going to fail history and geography. Just as he was speaking, the classroom next door also handed in their papers. In the crowd, I spotted 2 familiar figures, Jia Yuqing and Lin Weiqing. They saw me too. Jia Yuqing wore a worn cotton-padded jacket with frayed, shiny cuffs. He looked haggard, with deep-set eyes. Lin Weiqing, her belly already visibly pregnant, was bundled in an ill-fitting military coat. When she saw me, a hint of malice flickered in her eyes. They actually came to take the exam too. In her previous life, Jia Yuqing hadn't taken the 1977 college entrance exam. Back then, he was already a worker peasant soldier student and looked down on competing with ordinary people. As for Lin Weiqing, she simply settled into her role as the associate professor's wife without a second thought. In this life, it seems there is truly no way out. Well, if it isn't our brilliant Shen, Lin Weiqing said sarcastically, you actually dared to apply to Peking University. Don't bite off more than you can chew. I ignored her and said to Zhou Xiaomei, come on, let's find a place to eat. Shen Yulan, Jia Yuqing called out to me. I stopped in my tracks but didn't look back. Are you really going to be this ruthless? His voice was hoarse. We'd at least. What do you mean by after all? I turned around. After all, I fed you for 2 years. After all, I almost became your free babysitter. Or after all, your mother nearly beat me to death. The examinees who hadn't left yet all turned to look. Jia Yuqing's face flushed bright red. What nonsense are you talking about? You know very well whether it's nonsense or not. I glanced at Lin Weiqing's belly. Congratulations on this shotgun wedding. Just wondering if you two can afford to raise a kid on your temp wages. Lin Weiqing shrieked. Shen Yulan, don't go too far. Me, being excessive. I chuckled. You traveled all the way from the county seat to take the exam. Surely you're not thinking of begging me to hand over my spot to you, are you? Hearing this, Jia Yuqing's face completely changed. I knew I was right. In his past life, he was like this. When he couldn't succeed on his own, he would scheme to take from others. He stole my spot to return to the city, my gloves, my achievements, and in the end, even my life. How dare you slander me? Lin Weiqing charged over and raised her hand to strike. Zhou Xiaomei grabbed her wrist. What are you doing? Starting a fight at the exam hall? Want me to call the police? People nearby started pointing and whispering. Jia Yuqing pulled Lin Weiqing back, glaring at me. Just you wait. They left, their retreating figures looking disheveled. Zhou Xiaomei breathed a sigh of relief. That scared me to death. Yulan, do you think they might try something? Yes, I said, so they will definitely use it. They pulled the same tricks in my past life, filing anonymous complaints when I was up for a professional title, spreading rumors when I was due for a promotion. In this life, they'll only be more ruthless, but I'm not afraid anymore. 40 Chinese exam this afternoon. The essay topic is an unforgettable experience. I stared at the question, and a flood of images flashed through my mind. My grandmother's hand draping a coat over me in the dead of night, the look in Li Shuzhen's eyes as she handed me a fountain pen, the handwritten English textbook Zhou Xiaomei had sent me, and my past self, dying at that press conference. Finally, I wrote about the literacy class of the Red Flag Brigade, right of the illiterate women, tears streaming as they wrote their own Names for the first time, right of the elderly woman who could never keep track of her work points but learned to smile after mastering the abacus, right of my nights preparing lessons by the oil lamp, right of those winters learning to read by the coal stove. When I reached the end, I added this paragraph. Some say knowledge changes destiny, but I say, knowledge first changes how one sees the world. When you know how high the sky is and how deep the sea is, you'll no longer be content with a tiny corner. When you understand reason and know right from wrong, you won't be easily deceived or manipulated. This unforgettable experience made me realize, women are not vines that must cling to a big tree to grow. Women can also be trees, taking root on their own, reaching for the sun on their own, and living as a landscape in their own right. After finishing, the final period landed with extra weight. When handing in the exam paper, the proctor glanced at my answer sheet and nodded, saying, "Nice handwriting." As I walked out of the exam hall, the sky had already darkened. Zhou Xiaomei was waiting for me, her eyes sparkling. "Yulan, I wrote about you in my essay." I was taken aback. "I wrote about how you taught me to read, taught me to use the abacus, and even said you'd definitely get into college," she said excitedly. "I wrote it so well." A warmth spread through my heart. "Thank you, it's nothing." She linked her arm through mine. "You'll do great in math and science tomorrow, you too, good luck." 41. We stayed at the county guest house that night, in an 8-bedroom so cramped you could barely turn around. All my roommates were female examinees. Some were too nervous to fall asleep, some stayed up late studying, and others were sighing with anxiety. I lay down early, closed my eyes, and ran through the formulas in my head. Woke up in the middle of the night, needing to pee. I crept out of bed as quietly as I could, but the moment I reached the door, I caught the sound of hushed voices out in the hallway. "Are you sure she lives in this room?" "Definitely. I saw her go in." "Get the dosage right. Don't kill anyone. Don't worry, just make sure she can't get out of bed tomorrow." My hair stood on end as I yanked the door open. Under the dim light of the corridor, the two men were startled. They were the ones who had been with Jia Yuqing during the day. "What do you think you're doing?" They exchanged a glance and then turned to run. I took a couple steps after him, then stopped. "Don't chase after them. It's pitch black and not safe." Back in the room, I checked the thermos flasks one by one. Sure enough, the stopper on mine had been tampered with. When I brought it close and sniffed, there was a faint, strange odor. A woman in the same room woke up. "What's wrong?" "Someone put something in my drink," I said calmly. The room instantly erupted. "Oh my God, call the police." "Call the police now." "Who's so heartless?" The attendant on duty was woken up by the noise. After hearing the situation, his face turned pale. This can't be." "Get your manager," I said. "Also, I want to change rooms." The guesthouse manager, a man in his 50s, arrived. Upon hearing this, he broke out in a cold sweat. "Comrade, this must be a misunderstanding." "We'll see if it's a misunderstanding once the police get here." I looked at him. "The college entrance exam is a national event. Someone drugged a candidate in the exam guesthouse. Can you bear that responsibility?" His legs went weak. "I'll call the police right away." Right away, the police arrived quickly, took statements, and confiscated the thermos. It was 3 in the morning by the time I finally got moved into a single room on the second floor, which was actually just a hastily cleared out office for the leadership. By the time I lay down, it was almost dawn, but I couldn't sleep. "Jia Yuqing, Lin Weiqing, are you that afraid I'll get in? So scared that you'd risk committing a crime that works this time? You've handed me the leverage yourselves." 42. The math exam was the next day. Maybe it was what happened last night that spurred me on, or maybe it was anger that gave me strength. I answered the questions faster than usual. The last big problem was analytic geometry, extremely difficult. In my previous life, I left it blank because Jia Yuqing said, "What's the point of a woman studying geometry?" This time, I used 3 methods to arrive at the answer. When I handed in my paper, the proctor glanced at me again, this time with approval in their eyes. At noon, Zhou Xiaomei came to me with red-rimmed eyes. "Yulan, I heard about it. They were way too cruel." "It's nothing," I said. "I didn't drink." "But what if?" "There's no what if." I patted her hand. "The science comprehensive exam is this afternoon. Once it's over, everything's done." "What about the police report?" "I'll talk about it after the exam. I can't afford to get distracted right now. I have to finish the last exam in my best form." 43. Science comprehensive exam in the afternoon, combined physics and chemistry paper. The questions were still challenging, especially the last comprehensive mechanics problem in physics, which required the use of calculus concepts from advanced mathematics. Coincidentally, The set of practice questions Li Shuzhen gave me contained similar question types. I can write it down without a second thought. In the middle of writing, a sudden scream echoed through the exam hall. Ah, everyone, look up, it's Lin Weiqing. She clutched her stomach, her face deathly pale, and a patch of red stained the exam paper on the desk. Blood, she's bleeding, someone shouted. The exam proctor rushed over. Quick, get him to the hospital. The examination hall erupted into chaos. I glanced. Jia Yuqing was frantically trying to support her, her face full of terror. Premature birth. It should be about this time, if I calculate correctly. In their previous life, their son was born prematurely, frail and sickly, costing them a fortune. That was one of the reasons Jia Yuqing later desperately scrambled for money. I didn't look again, lowering my head to continue answering the questions. The last 10 minutes. Finish writing the final chemical equation. Check. Submit. The setting sun was perfect as I walked out of the exam hall. The golden red light spilled over the old school gate of County No. 1 High School, casting its glow on the faces of the examinees, some elated, others dejected. Zhou Xiaomei rushed over and hugged me. It's over, finally over. Yeah, the exams are over. After 2.5 years of waiting and countless days and nights of hard study, it all came to an end at this moment. How did you do on the exam, Yulan? She asked. I performed as usual, I said. That's definitely Peking University material. I smiled and said, let's wait for the results. 44. When I returned to the guest house to pack my luggage, the police came again. Comrade Shin Yulan, there's been a breakthrough in last night's case. The lead officer, surnamed Zhang and in his 40s, wore a grave expression. We've apprehended the 2 individuals, and they've confessed that they were acting on the orders of Jia Yuqing. I'm not surprised at all. Where is Jia Yuqing? His wife had a premature birth at the hospital and is in emergency care, Officer Zhang said. We've already got someone watching him. Once his wife's condition stabilizes, we'll bring him back to the station. Can he be convicted? Attempted drugging, but the facts are clear and the evidence is solid, enough for detention. He looked at me. Committing the crime during the college entrance exam period is egregious, and it might even lead to his test scores being invalidated. I nodded and said, thank you, Officer Zhang. My pleasure. He paused. Also, our investigation found that Jia Yuqing and Lin Weiqing are suspected of falsifying their application materials. Lin Weiqing wasn't even eligible for enrollment in the first place, as she didn't even graduate from middle school. My heart skipped a beat. Lin Weiqing's educational background in her previous life had always been a mystery. After Jia Yuqing achieved success and fame, she obtained a refresher bachelor's degree diploma, but doubts about it have never ceased. So that's where the root of the problem lies. Will this affect my admission? I asked. No, that won't happen, Officer Zhang said firmly. You're the victim, and your results are valid and authentic. Our public security department will issue a certificate to ensure your legal rights are protected. After seeing the police off, Zhou Xiaomei's jaw dropped. Oh my god, Jia Yuqing has really dug her own grave this time. You reap what you sow. I stuffed the last piece of clothing into the cloth bag, and Lin Weiqing, she got what she deserved. In my past life, they climbed up by stepping on my bones. In this life, it's finally their turn to fall. 45. Riding back to the Red Flag Brigade on the tractor, I leaned against the trailer and felt tired for the first time. I'm bone tired, a fatigue that seeps from every crevice. 2.5 years, every single day felt like a battle. Working during the day, studying at night, taking care of my grandma, and dealing with all kinds of difficulties. Now I can finally catch my breath, but deep down, I'm still on edge, waiting for results, waiting for admission, waiting for everything to truly settle. Li Shuzhen is waiting for me at the village entrance. Without a word, she simply took my cloth bag and said, let's go home. Grandma's made chicken soup. Grandma had indeed made chicken soup, adding red dates and goji berries. The small earthen house was filled with an enticing aroma. Drink up, it'll do you good. She filled a bowl to the brim. I held the bowl in my hands, the steam making my eyes sting. Grandma, I'm done with my exams. All right, she wiped her eyes. Whether you pass the exam or not, my granddaughter is the best. Li Shuzhen laughed. From the side, she'll definitely pass. I can tell from her expression. She's got it in the bag. After drinking the chicken soup, my whole body feels warm. It was only then that Li Shuzhen asked, everything all right at the exam hall? I confessed about the drugging. Her face turned livid. You beast, already caught, serves them right. She slammed the table. People like that deserve to never get back on their feet. Grandma kept chanting prayers upon hearing this. Bodhisattva bless. Bodhisattva bless my lawn to be safe. That night, I slept like a log, no dreams, like finally being able to lie down in peace after a long, arduous journey. 46 At the end of December, before the exam results were even out, the County Public Security Bureau's decision came first. Jia Yuqing was detained for 15 days and fined 200 yuan for attempted incitement to endanger public safety. Lin Weiqing gave birth prematurely to a son, but the child was born with congenital deficiencies and has been kept in a hospital incubator, with expenses piling up like flowing water every day. Their college entrance exam scores were naturally invalidated, Zhou Xiaomei wrote in her letter. The day Jia Yuqing was released from the detention center, he crouched outside the county hospital and cried. His father was so furious he had a stroke, and his mother threatened to cut ties with him. Lin Weiqing's family came to make a scene, demanding medical expenses and compensation. It was a complete mess. I showed the letter to Grandma and Li Shuzhen. Grandma sighed. What a sin, Li Shuzhen sneered. Serves you right. I think she deserves it too, but more than anything, it was a sense of relief. The grudges, the regrets, the grievances that haunted me at midnight in my past life, suddenly faded at this moment. It's not about forgiveness, it's not necessary anymore. They have become nothing but a muddy puddle on my path through life, and I must keep moving forward. 47 In January 1978, the results came out. Li Shuzhen called from the commune, her voice trembling. Yulan, the results, your results. My palms were sweating as I held the microphone. Total score, 468, she practically shouted. First in the county, third in the entire region. My legs gave way, and I nearly collapsed to the ground. Subject scores, politics 95, Chinese 92, math 98, science comprehensive 183. She continued, English reference score 86, PKU is in the bag. After hanging up the phone, I leaned against the wall and didn't move for a long time. Grandma tottered over. Lon, dear, what's wrong? Didn't get in. I turned around and hugged her. Grandma, I got in, first in the whole county. She froze for a moment, then burst into tears with a loud wah, cried like a child. Li Shuzhen rushed back from the commune and slapped the report card on the table. Look, look, a golden phoenix has flown out of the Red Flag Brigade. The news spread like wildfire, and within half a day, the entire brigade knew about it. Captain Liu came with a group, beating drums and gongs to congratulate me, saying they wanted to hold a victory celebration in my honor. The women from the literacy class crowded around me, one pressing 2 eggs into my hands, another stuffing a handful of red dates into my pockets. Teacher Shen, I knew you could do it. You've made women proud. When you go to Beijing, don't forget about us. I smiled and nodded, but my eyes were wet. Those who once thought I was restless, those who once gossiped about me behind my back, were now genuinely happy for me because they saw it. A woman, without relying on marriage or connections, could truly carve out her own path with nothing but her own hands and a pen. 48 In February, the acceptance letter arrived, a craft paper envelope with the words Peking University printed in red. My hands were trembling as I unwrapped it. Inside, there is an admission letter, a guide for new students, and a letter addressed to the incoming class. Dear Xin Yulan, after review, you have been admitted to the mathematics department of our university. Please report to the school by March 15, 1978. Mathematics department. I really got in. Grandma placed the admission letter beneath Chairman Mao's portrait in the main hall, polishing it 3 times a day. Li Shuzhen held the admission letter, reading it over and over again. Finally, she said, I need to light a stick of incense for my husband, to tell him that the books he left behind have truly helped raise a Peking University student. Before leaving, I organized all my review materials and gave them to Li Shuzhen. It's for the students who come after me, I said. Tell them it's never too late to learn, as long as they have the will. Her eyes reddened again. I will. The Red Flag Brigade held a farewell party for me. Captain Liu, on behalf of the brigade, gave me a new fountain pen and a canvas school bag. The women pooled their money to make me a new outfit, simple in style, made of blue khaki cloth, but with tight, sturdy stitching. Once you get to Beijing, dress properly, they said. Don't let anyone look down on us country folk. I took the clothes and bowed deeply. Thank you, everyone. I will not let the Red Flag Brigade down. 49 March 10, 1978. I left the Red Flag Brigade. Grandma insisted on seeing me off, and I couldn't talk her out of it, so I let her accompany me to the commune bus station. When the bus came, she held my hand and kept reminding me, write to me when you get there, dress warmly, study hard. I know. I hugged her. Grandma, once I'm settled, I'll take you to Beijing." She nodded through her tears. Li Shuzhen also came and pressed a cloth bundle into my hands. "Something to eat on the way. The car is moving." I looked back through the car window. Grandma was still standing there, her small, frail figure growing smaller and smaller until it became a tiny black dot. His hand clutched the admission letter, its edges already frayed. In my past life, I had also seen an acceptance letter, Jia Yuqing's. At that time, I was holding our daughter, looking at his triumphant face, and I felt that he was my whole world. Now I know that's not the case. My whole world is in my own hands. The car drove out of the county town and onto the national highway. Outside the window, the crisscrossing ravines of the Lus Plateau mirror the path I've walked over these past 3 years. Rough, but every step is solid. Next stop, Beijing. The next chapter of my life begins now. 50 on the campus of Peking University in March 1978. Fresh green filled every corner. In the 1978 cohort of the mathematics department, there were 32 students in total, and I was the only female. On the first day of school, I walked into the classroom wearing a blue cloth shirt sewn by the women of the Red Flag Brigade, drawing curious glances. But the moment I solved a complex calculus problem on the blackboard, all those looks turned into admiration. My college life was simple yet fulfilling, a routine of classrooms, the library, and the dormitory. I wake up at 5 every morning for morning reading and am the last to leave the study room late at night. Teaching assistant Chen Mingyuan first noticed me at the library. I had queued up before opening for 7 consecutive days just to borrow an out-of-print copy of Advanced Algebra. "Are you Shen Yulan, the one who ranked 3rd in the region?" he asked, flipping through my borrowing records. "These books, are you teaching yourself all of them?" "Mem," I replied, lowering my head to continue my calculations. "If you need tutoring, just let me know." He was a graduate student in mathematics and the son of a county party secretary, but he never flaunted it. 51 It was through Zhou Xiaomei's letter that news of Jia Yuqing and Lin Weiqing finally came through. Lin Weiqing lost her baby, and she had a mental breakdown, constantly threatening to kill herself. Jia Yuqing was caught stealing steel from a construction team and sentenced to 3 years in prison. His mother, Wang Xiuying, was paralyzed by a stroke, and his father retired early due to illness. "What goes around comes around," Zhou Xiaomei wrote. "Yulan, you need to live better than anyone else, just to spite them." I burned the letter. They are no longer worth my emotional energy. 52 In the second semester of my freshman year, I ranked first in my department and won the first-class scholarship. Chen Mingyuan invited me to join his research group, studying the application of operations research in factory cost control. "The provincial machinery factory places great importance on this project," he said. "If you do it well, there might be an internship opportunity." Machine factory. In her past life, the place where Jia Yuqing was later transferred to was also where Lin Weiqing worked as an accountant. "I'm going," I said. 53 During the summer vacation of 1979, I joined the finance department of the provincial machinery factory as a member of a research group for an internship. On my first day reporting for duty, I saw Lin Weiqing in the corridor of the factory office. She was gaunt and emaciated, wearing a faded, washed-out work uniform, being berated by the finance section chief. "You've made 3 accounting errors again this month. If you don't want the job, get the hell out." When she looked up and saw me, her pupils contracted sharply. "Shen Yulan, Accountant Lin," I nodded calmly. "You, what are you doing here?" "Peking University, Mathematics Department, here for an internship," I said, waving my work ID. Her face was deathly pale, as if she had seen a ghost. "My internship involved designing a new cost accounting system for a machinery factory. In my past life, I had read Jia Yuqing's later published original thesis. That system was actually a prototype I had developed through countless nights of burning the midnight oil crunching numbers. Now, I have refined and optimized it into a 30,000-word proposal." The finance section chief read the first draft and was utterly amazed. "Comrade Xiaoshen, this method of yours can save the factory at least 200,000 yuan a year." When the news spread, Lin Weiqing could no longer sit still. 54 One evening in July, Lin Weiqing stopped me at the factory gate. "Shen Yulan, let's talk." "We have nothing to talk about." "About Jia Yuqing." She gritted her teeth. "He's getting out of prison soon. Can you, please, let him go?" I laughed. "When have I ever let him off? If it weren't for your report, how could he have? Did I tell him to steal the steel? Or did I tell him to drug you?" My face turned cold. "Lin Weiqing, you brought this upon yourselves." Lin Weiqing suddenly dropped to her knees and grabbed my leg. "I'm begging you. I'm pregnant. I can't lose him again." just give me the job at the machinery factory, and I swear you'll never see me again. I yanked my leg back, and she fell backward on cue, screaming, "He's hitting me, a college student is hitting me." A few workers gathered around upon hearing the noise. I watched her performance, calmly pulling a small cassette recorder out of my shoulder bag. I pressed the stop button, rewound the tape, and then pressed play. The tape spun, and her voice rang out clearly from it. "You gave me the job at the machinery factory. I promise I'll never show up in front of you again." The workers around changed their expressions, and a buzz of murmurs arose. Lin Weiqing's face instantly drained of all color. She pulled her hand back as if scalded, pointing at the recorder, her voice shrill and distorted. You recorded me. That's an invasion of privacy. It's illegal, breaking the law." I turned off the recorder and looked at her calmly. "In a public setting, you were the one who initiated the harassment, verbal threats, and slander. I recorded it to protect my own legal rights, which is perfectly reasonable and justified." Lin Weiqing, want to take a guess? If I hand over this tape, along with the investigation materials about your forged credentials to get into the machinery factory, to the factory's disciplinary committee and the Public Security Bureau, do you think you'll still have this job? Does this count as attempted blackmail or extortion? With every word I spoke, her face grew paler. The moment she uttered the words blackmail and extortion, her entire body began to tremble. "That job is her only lifeline now. You're ruthless," she gritted out between clenched teeth, not daring to meet anyone's eyes. Scrambling to her feet, she stumbled away. Unsteadily, I put away the recorder. This machine was lent to me by Chen Mingyuan for my research interviews, but I never expected it to come in handy for this first. 55. I had just finished writing my internship report when Chen Mingyuan came to see me. "I heard someone was giving you trouble today." "Took care of it." I handed him the recorder. After listening, his expression shifted from surprise to concern. "So they've been harassing you and trying to harm you all along. Good thing I got rid of them early on." He turned off the recorder and was silent for a long time. "Shin Yulan, you are the most resilient woman I have ever met." "Life forced my hand," I said. "Would you be willing to face the future with me?" he suddenly asked. It's not out of pity, but admiration and appreciation. I looked at him. This lean, scholarly man has a sincere light in his eyes. "Wait until I graduate," I said. "Wait until I truly stand on my own." He smiled. "All right, I'll wait for you." 56. In the summer of 1982, I graduated top of my class from Peking University's Department of Mathematics. Chen Mingyuan has been transferred to the Provincial Department of Finance, and he recommended me to apply for the open recruitment exam for Financial System RAN-D personnel at the department. Outside the exam hall, I ran into Jia Yuqing. He had been out of prison for only 6 months, working as a temp at a small neighborhood factory, unshaven and with a bleary look in his eyes. Seeing me in a crisp white shirt and black skirt, holding my Peking University diploma, his lips trembled. "Shin Yulan, Comrade Jia Yuqing, please move aside. I need to take my exam now." I also signed up. He clutched the crumpled admission ticket. "Could you let me have your spot? I can marry you, just like in our past life." I finally heard the last 4 words clearly. "Like a past life." So, he was reborn too. I laughed so hard that tears came to my eyes. "Jia Yuqing, do you know what I regret most in my past life?" I said slowly. "It's not marrying you, not sacrificing for you. It's that I died without ever telling you this. I find you disgusting." His face turned pale. "Let me make up for it now." I stared into his eyes. "From the day you thanked Lin Weiqing at the press conference." "No, from the first time you used me as a stepping stone. Shin Yulan, can't even stand the sight of you." With that, I walked into the exam hall. Written test, interview, and undisputed first place on the day the admission list was announced. Jia Yuqing made a scene at the entrance of the Provincial Department of Finance, threatening to report me for pulling strings. Chen Mingyuan arrived with an official letter from the Provincial Department of Finance. "Comrade Shin Yulan is an outstanding graduate of Peking University and a specially recruited talent of the department. Comrade Jia Yuqing, if you continue to disrupt the order of the unit, we can call the police." Jia Yuqing looked at him, then at me, and suddenly crouched on the ground, wailing loudly like a stray dog. 57. On National Day of 1983, I married Chen Mingyuan. The wedding was held in the county, simple but lively. All the aunties and sisters-in-law from the Red Flag Brigade showed up. Li Shuzhen served as the witness, and Zhou Xiaomei was the bridesmaid. Grandma, dressed in new clothes, sat at the head table, grinning from ear to ear. Mom and Dad were naturally more pleased with Chen Mingyuan than with Jia Yuqing. and instead praised me for being capable. I heard Jia Yuqing went south and hasn't been heard from since. Lin Weiqing remarried an old bachelor, and her life turned into a chaotic mess on our wedding night. Chen Mingyuan held my hand and said, "From now on, you don't have to work so hard anymore." "I have to fight," I said. "I want to go to graduate school, study abroad, and do so much more." He smiled. "Alright, I'll go with you." 1993, Peking University Alumni Association. I am already the youngest department head in the Provincial Department of Finance, and Chen Mingyuan is the deputy director. We walked hand in hand into the venue, surrounded by admiring glances. In the shadowy corner, Jia Yuqing, dressed in a server's uniform, was wiping down a table. The tray slipped from his hands and clattered to the floor the moment he saw me. I walked past calmly, as if passing through thin air. An old classmate asked, "Yulan, I heard you got engaged while you were in the countryside. How is he doing now?" "Dead," I said. In my heart, the entire venue fell silent for a moment, and then applause erupted for my rebirth, and for every woman who refuses to accept fate and never gives up. As the crowd dispersed, Chen Mingyuan asked me, still holding a grudge. I gazed at the vast, high autumn sky of Beijing and shook my head. "I no longer hold a grudge. Hating is exhausting. I will save my time for the people I love, for the things I want to do, for this hard-won life that finally belongs to me." The end.